I'm going to roll out a very thin slab, let's say 1/8 of an inch thick, and I'm going to score it with the tines of a fork, and then I'm going to demonstrate a couple ways that I go about making some handles, and I might demonstrate some other handles since I want to put lugs on the bowl and handles and a top for the tureen. And this is a technique I evolved when I really was doing a lot of borders, and borders are still something I do a lot of groundwork in the greenware area for decoration, drawing, establishing where colors and glazes are going to go. And when I first started doing these more elaborate works, I wanted to set up a lot of articulation along the edge, along the top edge, along the bottom edge, dividing up areas in the body of the tureen. And the idea of rolling tiny little coils and getting them applied looking good seemed daunting to me, so I just kind of evolved this area, this technique, and it looks like little tiny coils. In this case, I'm going to roll them like croissants and form them into handles. But you can do a lot of things with this. At home, I will roll out a sheet of this material, sandwich it between plastic, and then I can use it over the course of a week or two as needed. I'm just squaring this up very casual, very loosely. And this is a wonderful fork. This was once a silver-plated fork, and the silver's worn off it. But it's a nice, generous, heavy fork, very strong tines that are very widely spaced compared to, say, the flatware we might buy at Target or something. So this is just something that was picked up inexpensively at an antique store or a flea market. And I wet it, and I'm going to slide it. I want you to notice that I have the fork tines pointing away from me, and they're not like this. I will demonstrate what this does after showing you what this does. And I'm just pushing those tines in, not going all the way through, and I'm going to go right across the slab, scoring this way. So I have strips I can cut off, one strip, one tine wide, or 4 tines wide, or whatever. This time I'll show you what happens if I don't. You want the tines sliding up into the air and not pointing down onto the surface, because this claws its way through. And here you see absolutely no little goobers of clay sticking anywhere, and here you just see those creases totally filled up with little shreds. So you want this, and I could just go over that and draw that back in. Then I take a damp sponge and just kind of smooth over it. The cut edges I smooth over. And I'm just going to cut a few strips that are 3 wide. See, I feel like that slab's a little bit thick. I'm not going to roll it, but I feel like that's a little thicker than ideal. Everything I add to this soup tureen adds weight to the soup tureen. I'm very conscious of that. I'm just moistening, even though this is nice soft clay straight out of the bag, I'm just putting a little moisture on the back. I want them to be very agreeable, and they're not usually. So I'm just going to start rolling this up. I'm starting by coming over at a 45-degree angle to begin. So I'm rolling on the outside edge of that. And I know if I had a mathematically inclined mind, I could find a way to do this very consistently. But then about halfway through, I'm coming on this side, I'm pulling that down, rolling that over, rolling it up, and then I'm just going to try to jam them together. My hands are wet. Number 2, coming over at a 45-degree angle, rolling getting halfway down and then coming in from the other end, smoothing that out, mush together. The clay being very soft is really helping with this mushing together. And then this one, I just gave it the slightest little reference toward being ovaled, just a hair. When I attach these, I'll be cutting some material out. I'm rolling out a coil. I'm just going to play it by ear when I get it kind of evened up. I'm just going to cut it in half, just kind of roughly guess where the middle is, and roll the end of each coil to match this end, more or less. I'm going to line them up and just see what the lengths are like and trim them off. And I'm going to start using two hands here. I'm just rolling in a bit, and then I'm snaking up this way and joining them together into these little loops. And actually, when I've done this and I have these out here, I was thinking of putting these on a bowl. I might hold these up to the bowl and just see which I prefer. But I also will be demonstrating some trays and platters. Lots of things can have lugs. They're a place to create contrast in your surfacing. And I'll do two more approaches. The second one is identical, seemingly. This time I'm just bending in. Instead of away from me, I'm twirling in. And one last. If anybody's made gnocchi, this can remind them of making gnocchi, where you roll it across the back of a fork. I'm just rolling that fork tine pattern across this coil at an angle, and I'm going to actually twist it up then. And I'll do this with it. And I think of that texture will hold slip differently. Maybe the slip won't go everywhere.